When do you think English literature study first started? Or when do you think it was introduced as a degree subject? And let's look at the origin. So, in the first half of the 19th century, it was all Church of England monopoly. There were two universities, Oxford and Cambridge. But guess what? Not everyone could enter or attend the college. Only Anglican communicants could attend. And if you're an atheist, if you're a Jewish, or if you're a Catholic, you could not attend the college. And the subjects taught were Maths, Divinity, and classics, Greek classics. So obviously divinity as a subject would mean that there were aspirants who wanted to be ordained, and people who taught there, they could not marry, so that they lived there. So let's look at English literature and its study. In 1828, English was offered as a subject for study, and they appointed the first English professor of English in 1829 in the University College, founded in London. It was study of English language and not a study of English literature. Then in 1840, F.D. Maurice was appointed professor at King's, and his lecture lays down the principles of liberal humanism. So Maurice believed that literature is a property of the middle class and it's an expression of their values. And for him, the middle class represents the essence of Englishness, and since the poor needs to give all their attention to their survival, and therefore the middle class education should be centered around English, because they'll have a feeling of nationality, and they'll feel some emotions towards the country, so that they believe that they start believing that they belong to the country, and they wouldn't start anything like a French Revolution or something, because they have something to be part of. If you look at churches, the attendance of churches, attendance from classes below middle classes was very patchy. And since there was no regulatory religion for the poor, that moral discipline, that was a factor that they thought that English literature would provide. The English values, English customs, culture, everything. So the current or conventional way of treating English literature, it began with Matthew Arnold in 1850s, and with the publication of the Newbold Report on the teaching of English in England in 1921. Yes, you would say that this was a political ideology, but I don't think it was just that. I say that because I read Peter Barry, because they have this feeling of this something like white man's burden, except the others are whites also. They want others to be in an improved situation. They want to improve their lifestyle, they want to improve their culture, a genuine desire to improve things for everybody, a kind of a missionary zeal. enlightenment. And also, this would mean that without any distribution or redistribution of wealth, the structure, the class structure remains, and you can almost make sure that there will be no agitation. But what do you think? Can you exactly differentiate the language component and literature as such? How can you do that? I mean, it is still a problem that has not been solved. In 1894, when English course was finally set up in Oxford, it contained a heavy element of historical language study. And still, when you go for a BA English literature, obviously you study the history, and that's how we are trained, especially in India. Now let's look at the three pioneers, I.A. Richards, William Emerson, and F.R. Lewis. So I.A. Richards was the founder of a method of studying English which is still followed. So he made a break between literature and language, and his book Practical Criticism, his 1929 book, so he started this close study wherein the text is isolated from the history and context. So you could no longer just make a vague criticism of some text and basing it on its historical context and call it criticism. You had to actually look at the text and do close reading, close analysis. You have to find the different elements in the language itself, in the text itself. And then comes William Emerson and his 7 Types of Ambiguity, which was published in 1930. And he took this close verbal analysis to a whole new different level. He identified 7 different types of verbal difficulty in poetry, and it's like giving you a formula, and then using these formula, that is 7 types of ambiguity, and he has defined 7 types. So imagine them as 7 formulas, and these can be used to understand or analyze a text, just like using a formula from Max, for example, a plus b the whole square. So T.S. Eliot called this lemon squeezer school of criticism because it's like squeezing everything out of a text. And the last, F.R. Lewis, and he is one of the most influential figure in 20th century British criticism. And so he took close reading beyond poetry to novels and other materials. His close readings are often lengthy quotations, and he is heavily moral. He approached literature, or he wanted literature to teach us about life, to transmit humane values. Again, so this was, you can understand that this becomes, what we said earlier, a way of maintaining status quo. So that's it. I hope you understood. I hope you had fun.